Welcome, everybody. Welcome to How to Speak Maintenance. If you're new to our podcast, welcome. We are sponsored by the Texas Apartment Association Education Foundation. We bring guests on to be able to talk through the maintenance side of property management and how we can help support our maintenance team. So, my name is Jason Fine. I'm the VP of Maintenance at Dominium. And with me is Becca Ramadi, who's the VP of the Texas Apartment Association Education Foundation. Hey, Becca.
Hey, Jason, how are you?
Good. Once again, thanks for putting this on for us. This is always a lot of fun. It's my break for the month to be able to spend time and talk about maintenance. So, is there anything you'd like to share with the listeners about what you're working on at TAEF?
Yeah, just a reminder for everyone, it's not too late to register for the One Conference that's in Fort Worth in April 14th through the 16th, 13th through the 15th, I think. I always get those dates wrong. Also, check out a new research report that TAAEF sponsored about perceptions of Texans about working in the apartment industry. Super interesting stuff. And we have a executive summary and research report that you can download at taa.org/research. And so lots more coming from that. It's pretty interesting stuff, and I can't wait to share more about it coming soon.
I think if nobody's been, if you haven't been and you're listening right now, you should go. They've got some great prizes, great different activities and vendors. So it's always a good time. So our special guests today are Jesus Zepeda from Camden Property Trust and Russell Rubin, from HD Supply. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Nice to be here.
Thank you.
Do you guys mind? So let's start with you, Russell. Talk about where you're at, what you're doing, and how long you've been there.
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. I work with HD Supply. I've been here over 20 years, almost 23 years. Prior to coming to HD, I was a maintenance supervisor on a property, moved up to manager, and I worked there for about 23 years at the same property.
Wow.
And really enjoyed it, but then made the leap over to HD and just love my position and helping out properties with finding solutions to their everyday issues.
Man, I'm glad to have you on. 23 years at the same property. I'm sure you've seen a lot of things and you learned a lot of things as well.
For sure. And, working together as a team, we'll discuss a little bit later on, is really important as is recognition. So really looking forward to today's discussion.
Great. And Jesus, you're always a staple on our podcast, but for those that don't know you, maybe you can talk about what you're doing and what you're working on.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. Thank you, Becca, Robin, everybody. My name is Jesus Zepeda. Camden. I've been with Camden for the last 17 years, but I've been in the apartment industry for 42 years now. Started as a groundskeeper from the ground up and built my way up to become a supervisor. Now I'm a regional director of maintenance for Camden, and I cover the Houston market, Dallas, and Austin, and support the teams in any maintenance needs, preventive maintenance, and operations, which has been a fantastic opportunity, and I enjoy it so much.
That's great. Well, before we get started, though, I would like to announce that Jesus was the 2026 TAA Maintenance Professional of the Year. So congratulations, Jesus. That's it's pretty amazing. So, I had the opportunity to work alongside you and when I was at Camden, and I enjoyed watching the way you support the teams and make sure that your group is well, taken care of and they get the recognition that they need. So congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, and very, very appropriate to the conversation today, Jason. I just have to say that the Maintenance Professional of the Year award is my favorite because we are recognizing maintenance professionals and in a way that's in front of all of their peers they didn't know they had, but in the biggest stage in Texas. And so it's really meaningful to be able to have Jesus here to talk about this with us today.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, thank you again.
Yeah. Well, today's topic is about recognition and how we recognize our maintenance team specifically. I've been involved in many conversations about this topic over the years. And the one thing that comes up frequently is how different people perceive recognition. Before we start, though, I know, Becca, you had said that you had pinged LinkedIn in our network of people. And so, I mean, did you want to kind of hit on that a little bit before we get started?
Sure, I think we'll hear about it throughout the conversation, but it was really interesting to post this question. How are you recognizing your teams? What are you doing that's innovative and new, and what's different than just another pizza party, which we hear often as not being, enough of a recognition tool, or too much of a recognition tool, I should say. So what was interesting was how interested people were in hearing the results of what others had to say. So that was the first thing, is people want to know. They want to hear new ideas, and they want to be able to implement those types of good ideas to their own communities and with their own teams. So if there's something that you do with your team and you're watching, please shout it out in the chat and let us know. And that can help everybody do better. The second thing was just that it's really important to just ask your people what kind of recognition they want. And I think that was a really important message that came through loud and clear. Not everyone is the same. Not everyone is going to react to things the same way. It might be someone's nightmare to be the maintenance professional of the year. And so you have to really ask your people if you want it to be meaningful. That was a key takeaway for me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with that though, I mean, because that was my first question to you, Russell and Jesus, was different people, they want to be recognized in different ways. What are your thoughts on that? And I'll start with you, Jesus. What have you seen in your past?
Yeah, so for me, like you're saying, Jason, everybody's different, right? And as a leader, you have to be able to identify those things with your team. Really, truly, intentionally have conversations with them, listening to their needs, what they want, where they want to go in their career. I always ask people, like, where do you see yourself in the next year to 5 years in your career? And so many answers is like, I want to continue to grow. I want to be you one day, as a supervisor. And it's a responsibility that you have to make sure that everybody, your team gets there. So many times I hear leaders that they're saying, oh, this is my business, guys, so I don't want him to be anywhere. No, you want him to grow. You want him to continue to go in career and give them those opportunities. And give them opportunities is actually recognizing the strengths of people. And so that to me is super important. So acknowledging everybody and adapting to everybody's style is super important.
Yeah, Russell, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree 100% with Jesus. Everybody's different, and they perceive what recognition is differently. And so somebody may say, look, when I go above and beyond, I'd like to have a day off, or I'd like to have a monetary value associated with that recognition. Some people are fine with a thank you. You are fantastic. We really appreciate all that you do. And that's great. So really know what that person is looking for, know what's going to drive the best behavior and push that person forward to, as Jesus said, I want to get to the next level. And so recognizing someone's talent is very important. And so, you always want to get the best out of everybody.
Definitely. Before we started the conversation, Jesus, you were talking about ensuring that the recognition kind of met the activity or whatever you're trying to recognize, the behavior. You mind expanding on that a little bit?
Yeah. So I'm always very mindful of not over, because I think it takes a little bit away the meaning of when something really important happens. So make sure that it matches the impact of whatever you're trying to recognize, right? One example is my teams. I always say I set a goal for the week, right? And if things are going well in the middle of the week, I always send my check back in the middle of the week when we are moving a little bit, but the direction we wanted to really celebrate. Even if it is on the other way around. But also like, hey, what are you doing? Where can we put it to get there and stuff like that. So recognizing the good and the bad, it is important because sometimes not everything that we recognize is going to be on the positive side, right? How can we grow if we're not taking good feedback from our leaders?
That's true. I might be weird on this one, but I might be out on an island by myself. But sometimes I view recognition as my boss giving me an opportunity to be a part of a project that's outside of my normal scope. That I see that as, them giving me a shot at advancement and growth. Like, what are your thoughts on that sort of recognition, additional duties or assignments? And maybe Russ, you can start on that one.
Sure. I agree with you 100%. Nothing feels better than having your boss or an owner of a property say, hey, I want to get your thoughts on this. And that could be, we're going to be changing out ceiling fans in every single unit on turns. And what ceiling fan would you go with? Or an upgrade or a renovation that might be happening with the property. Or they just want to change maybe the outside signage. So just being included in something that's maybe above and beyond the scope of what you do every day really kind of, can put a good charge into somebody and make them feel good and needed and, recognized for, value that they can bring to the property.
Hey, Zeus, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's always important to give opportunities. The more you do that with your teams, the stronger you will build, for sure. You delegate some of the big responsibilities and somebody your team members is a sign of recognition because they acknowledge that you're trusting them with some of the projects that other than their normal day-to-day operations they wouldn't be experienced to have. And so it was good. It happens to myself, right? Every time somebody tells me like, hey, can you go do this? It feels really good. I'm like, okay, I'll go for it. But again, yes, super important to continue to give those opportunities to people.
I mean, back to our first question that we were talking about, knowing the type of recognition that people are looking for is important, right? Because if you give a project, that's going to help somebody grow, but they feel like it's outside of their job duties, and they value monetary rewards and recognition over additional duties. I mean, what do you think the impact's going to be? Like, how do you think the employee might react to that?
I personally feel, there are several different types of recognition, but there's so much talent that people have that somebody may not know that they are really good in whatever they're being asked. Like, I had no idea that you knew about plumbing or fashion design or whatever it is. And so having them kind of explore and work together, again, to move up to the next level, that may be the stepping stone that moves them up to the next level, and make them feel good inside.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. About the notion about recognition and monetary value. The monetary value comes later when you get promoted to the next level and you continue to grow in your career. And with that is money wise, you become in a great position too. So sometimes monetary value from everything it doesn't happen instantly. It's like you take those opportunities, you continue to add value, and promotions will come your way, right? So that's when the real monetary value comes to play.
Well, and it's also probably pretty important to be real upfront and set expectations about what some of those recognition tools can be. So if you're not going to be giving out monetary pat on the backs, it's probably a pretty good idea to make sure that that's clear so that expectations aren't that they're going to, that they could receive something like that when that's not on the table.
Right.
One of the things I think, Becky, you brought it up at the beginning where they said, I think it was Paul that says, no more pizza parties. I've heard that a couple times. What sort of, if I'm a listener to, how to speak maintenance and I'm, I'm hearing all this, like it's important to recognize people and make them feel special. What sort of recognition have you received or delivered to your team that was useful and and you maybe go back to on a regular basis? I'll start with you, Jesus. You want to?
Okay, here we go. So for me, like earlier in the conversations, we were talking about probably a time off with the teams and we were celebrating a place at Camden. We have every year we take our new supervisors and leaders, sometimes LMSs as well, for a day off, right? Like let's do something fun, let's enjoy together, let's build that camaraderie between the team, and it really helps drive the energy from the guys and reset and go back to their properties, energize and stuff. So that's one. And then we have another one where we build opportunities for teams to do something outside of the community. And it's called Camden Response Team, where we benefit both, we execute projects that we do in-house with our own teams and go to different communities and stuff and they're part of something and we celebrate those team members at the end of the year, by like the achievements that we have done. And it reveals that a lot of team members that are normally in this group will continue promotions and stuff in their careers because they just add value, to themselves, to their careers and stuff. So we also do a day out with those team members with the Camden Response Team where we take them out and celebrate the wins and the success. And so that's how we recognize those team members.
What about you, Russ? What sort of programs have you seen or types of recognition?
Yeah. So a couple of thoughts that I have. I think a personalized recognition is always a good thing. So maybe it's a lunch or a dinner with the owner, the manager, or it's something a little bit more personal. And again, as you recognize what works for each individual person for their recognition is very important. But an idea that I've seen before is where a property might create like a wow card, or they might personalize that card of like the property management company, and let's just use Jesus's Camden and have it called the Camden Maintenance Excellence Award. And so anytime that a property might get a compliment from a resident, Jesus did a great job doing the work order that I asked. He cleaned up everything. And in fact, I even asked him to do a couple more things. I just want to say I really appreciate Jesus. I want you to know that he's a great guy. So in order to recognize him, you could give him one of those wow cards or the Maintenance Excellence Award card and, write it out and just say, thank you very much for, your perfect customer service with our tenants. And they get put into either like a drawing, it could give a monetary value. It's just something that they actually have in writing that they can say, look, I got a wow card or I got a Maintenance Excellence Award for going above and beyond. And so when I've had those, I used to love just hanging them on my wall and just seeing how many that I could collect. It's very impactful in my opinion.
That's great. I like the idea of the conference, right? But that's a big dollar recognition program that companies need to invest in. I like the idea of the cards. I mean, there's a whole level of different types of recognition that companies can be able to utilize to be able to bring their teams together and show them that they mean a lot to the company. So, I mean, one of my own personal stories was I remember I was at a community and there was a big inspection coming up the next day. And so I spent the night and I was, scrubbing things and cleaning things. And it was the president of the company. And after the inspection was over, it was, it was great. Went back to business, right? But then the next day I got a handwritten letter that said, thank you very much. But it was handwritten. It wasn't typed. It wasn't an email. It was something that I saw that the VP had taken the time out to be able to give to me. And I remember being on cloud nine myself. So even a handwritten card can be something that's impactful to different people. So
in this digital age, handwritten means, I think, a lot more today than it has ever before. So I agree. And so on these wild cards or the Maintenance Excellence Award cards, handwrite them out. You're spot on with that. I want to add one other thing just real quick is reach out to your suppliers. So Jesus talked about those big company trips or outings, reach out to suppliers. Sometimes suppliers have some sponsorship dollars, or they can provide actually some logoed material, giveaways that you can give out for awards. And so it doesn't always have to be a monetary value, but reach out. Suppliers have all sorts of different levels that they can do, and it depends upon each of them. But ask them, and they can let you know what they can do to help support you in your recognition program.
That's great. Before we started the call, you were talking about a big deal award. Is that kind of what you're referring to?
Yeah, so at HD Supply we have what's called Big Deal. So it's kind of like that wild card. And for HD, it does come with a monetary value. We are selective. We don't just hand those out like candy. You really have to go above and beyond. And that could be helping out a property that might have incurred a fire, for example, and we'll send out water or gather some clothes for displaced residents. That's going above and beyond. That's showing great customer service, to our customers that we sincerely appreciate, and so we'll give a big deal award to that. It could also be, going above and beyond in terms of working with a food bank or a charity or, helping out the community. And so, again, along with maintenance staff on property, if they do things above and beyond for the community, oftentimes they do. And so let them know that you're recognizing them for going above and beyond.
And
That's
and
great.
and Russ, the HD Supply also does a pretty big deal award with NAA. Can you talk about Maintenance Legends a little bit too?
Sure. Yeah. So HD Supply is partnered up with NAA for Maintenance Legends. And Maintenance Legends is a program where the maintenance person can write a story about themselves. A property manager or leasing agent can write up a story. It could be an owner. It can be anybody that will write in and tell us why a particular maintenance professional is a legend. And those stories could be, during a freeze that they stayed up all night and made sure that the property was taken care of. It could be we have a handicapped resident that this person makes sure gets in and out to the doctors. It's anything that makes them a legend. Those drawings are every single month, and there's 3 winners selected every single month. And then at the end of the year, the winners go to NAA, and they have a chance to win this year a Ford truck. So NAA, in sponsorship with HD Supply, they'll get a Ford truck, which is selected by a committee of different professionals of what stories win each month. And each month there is a prize for each of the winners.
That's amazing. See, you pair up the TAA Maintenance Professional of the Year Awards program. You've got this NAA, program is the Maintenance Legends. I mean, for anybody that's listening, just reaching out, it sounds like there's opportunities for you to be able to nominate your employees and get them larger recognition than maybe what's the constraints of your company. Maybe financially it's not feasible to bring everybody together, but there's other opportunities out there with our suppliers. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Before we move on, though, I do want to ask Jesus to talk about how just having breakfast with your employees can be a recognition. I mean, when you were a maintenance supervisor when I first met you, you bring in breakfast in the morning and sit down with your employees. Do you mind talking to the audience about that one?
Yeah. So, without knowing that was something that it was building camaraderie and team, team building. Every morning, I used to come and have some food with me and stuff. And little by little, my team started to come in and they started like, oh, it's every morning. And then that promotes the way somebody else was doing it. I'm going to bring this and I'm going to bring that. So that became a really wonderful experience for me because every morning we got together, we talk about the morning work, those personal stuff, things that happen, and we had fun. We always we got off and was really pumped and ready to tackle the day. We talked about goals and stuff, and so that's something that I always encourage the other supervisors to like build that energy in your teams because the energy you bring first thing in the morning is how it's going to determine the day for the entire team. Sometimes listening to somebody that had an issue or whatever, and it's important. So it was really, really good. I still do it sometimes with my team. And unfortunately, only in other cities or stuff like that, but we have the time, we try to build memories, so it's important.
That's great. No, I wanted to bring that up because I remember when I met you and I was getting to know your team. They when you
Yeah.
left and when you came back to that community, I remember they said that they missed that, and I know that was also an opportunity where you also took time to be able to recognize, hey, yesterday you did a good job, doing those service requests, or hey, you guys did a great job. The property looks amazing. So
Yeah.
those are all different opportunities, and I like that example though the best because it's not only did they want to come in for breakfast, they came in early, so you didn't have to worry about anybody coming in late, and they got to work at right away, and they wanted to do it. They were proud, so it's a pretty cool story. So
Really, really cool. Yeah.
yeah, I know I'm gonna hit you guys with something that we did not talk about before the call, but is there anybody that you would recognize publicly on the call? Like use this opportunity to say, thank you to somebody on your team. I
Nice.
know it's last minute and I hit you without getting you in the loop. But Russ, do you have anybody that you'd like to recognize on the call?
So can be anyone on my team or
Yeah.
in the maintenance field at the property level.
Yeah.
Well, I want to recognize all of our customers. We just appreciate everything that you do each and every day. Again, as a maintenance person for 23 years prior, I'm a little biased that look, maintenance is one of the most important positions on the property. They see tenants more often, many times than the office staff does, and they just keep that property rolling a lot. So it is a team effort. I do recognize that properties work really well when the office and the maintenance staff work closely together. But I just really appreciate all of our customers for everything that you do in every single day. And again, reach out to suppliers. We're here to help make your jobs easier. And whatever we can do to do that, that's what we want to do.
Thanks, Russ. Hey, Juice, you're on the spot now, buddy.
I know. And I'm thinking about this one, Jason, because I don't want anybody to feel left out because I have a great team and I have so many people. But yesterday, I want to mention something in particular that happened here in Houston in the office. We had our Q1 meeting with the supervisors and managers kickoff, where we have the first quarter to set us for the year. And for the first time, I had one of the supervisors that is really quiet. We talk about leadership styles. This guy is really quiet, really shy. He doesn't stand up so much. And yesterday, he built the courage to stand up and speaking publicly. And that was a very impactful moment, not only for me, for the entire group. And his name is Jesus. And it was really great to hear from him because he's an amazing guy. Very as he speaks, but every time you go to this community, it's always shining and pristine. And so he had to be showcased. So I was really impressed with him yesterday.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that story. I know Jesus personally, and I know he's a hard worker. So thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah.
Well, Becca, did we have any messages or chats? Nothing?
I mean, we had a couple people agreeing on the idea of asking them for insight, but be careful when you do that you're not just adding to workloads or,
Sure.
to already busy teams. So just be careful in that idea about giving recognition, leading to more work that's not part of a job description.
Sure,
Which is
definitely.
fair.
It is fair.
Well, that's a wrap for today's episode. A big thank you to both you, Russ and Jesus, for joining. I really appreciate your time and coming to meet with us and talk to us about recognition. So if anybody that's listening is interested in any of our previous conversations, you can find us on the go as a podcast wherever you download your podcasts, as well as on Facebook and LinkedIn. So thank you,
And
Becca.
YouTube.
Yeah.
And
Appreciate
YouTube. Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody. We'll be back on March 25th for our next episode of How to Speak Maintenance.
Bye.